Hey everyone, the numbers are in for Splash in Panama City Beach for 2020. I'm Craig Duran with the Duran Group over at Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices. I'm going to do this a little bit different for you this update. I want to give you a really comprehensive idea of what's happening in the market. So quickly we'll run through the statistics for the overall market, and then the part two we'll get into specifically. We'll get into pricing and Splash and look at the appreciation, and we'll do it by bedrooms. So 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms. And then I'm going to finish it for with anybody who's thinking about selling this year, some good ideas on pricing and timing that will maybe help you maximize when you sell and give you some sense of when you may want to do that. So first of all, number of new listings. You may have already heard that you might hear things if you've been following the real estate market at all about tight inventory or limited supply. We just haven't had as many units for sale, especially recently. For the overall year, we had 12% fewer condos for sale in 2020 than we did in 2019. So think about that from a buyer's standpoint about there's just a little bit less available. But look at what these buyers were doing. The number of units that went under contract last year was 12% higher than 2019, and even more dramatic, we sold 24% more condos in 2020 than we did in 2019. That may or may not seem like a big number to you, but think about this. Most of the time, year to year, we have so many of the same situations and so many of the same things influencing the market that it wouldn't be surprising to see 3% or 5% or something like that. But instead, 24% more sales in the condo market is a pretty big number. From a volume standpoint, 281,872,000 sold in 2019, 373 million plus last year. That's a 32% increase. So really another big jump. From an appreciation standpoint, the average sale price in the market went up 6% last year. Now think about that. That is newer buildings, older buildings, large units, small units, great condition, terrible condition. The average was up 6%. Again, also worth revisiting for the waterfront, Gulfront condo market is this chart. You guys know I love this one if you've been watching these videos before. The red line represents the number of units for sale at any given point. And this whole thing is going back about 2 years. April and May, we topped out at the most condos for sale at any given point than we have in the last couple of years. But look at what's happened since then. Month over month, there are fewer and fewer and fewer condos for sale. And think about that from a mindset of a buyer. Buyers doing their research. They're in another part of the country planning a trip down to look at units in a month or two. And every time they go back to look at what's for sale and what's for sale, they're seeing not only fewer choices, but the unit they saw is off the market, and the unit they saw yesterday is off the market again. And they're getting some sense of just how active this is. And so the buyers that are coming into the market right now are very, very motivated because they see what's going on. Remember, this black line here represents the number of actual sales. And again, the big, big takeaway here is this months of inventory number right here. For those of you who haven't seen my videos before or are unfamiliar with this is worth revisiting. It's very, very important. 5 or 6 months of inventory traditionally represented a neutral market in real estate. In theory, an owner would call a real estate office or real estate agent, put the property up for sale, arrange for showings, things like that, get to the point of negotiating a contract, and then getting to the process of closing a contract. And that whole process traditionally would take 5 or 6 months or would normally take 5 or 6 months. If it's happening faster than that, like it sounds, it's a hotter market. If things are selling in 2 months versus 5 months, there are more buyers, there's less inventory, there's more demand, seller's market, right? So let's look at what happened in the overall condo market again in 2020. We started the year in a very neutral market. We hit the brakes very quickly, very dramatically, and jumped from 5.7 months to 14.2 months in April because of the lack of activity in March, right when the pandemic came out. But look at what's happened since then. The market started to pick up, and it picked up very quickly. 14 months to 8 months to 4.29 months in June, 3.66 months a month later, 2.72 months a month later. We hovered in the twos for most of the rest of the year. We got to 1.7 months of inventory in December. That's supposed to be the off season. That means theoretically that the entire Gulfront market would sell out in 1.7 months if we didn't put anything else up for sale. That's the kind of demand we have in the market right now. When you look at Splash specifically, of course, this is going to jump around a little bit more because of fewer units, but look, same idea. We topped out about the same time as the rest of the market. And look, all of a sudden, there's just not much competition out there. If you're selling, if you're buying, you just don't have a lot of choices. Same idea. We've come down to very much a seller's market range in Splash. To go by bedrooms now, and let's see if we have about 6% appreciation-ish or so. We'll go by bedrooms. So let's start with the one bedrooms. I've got this organized by date. So we can check this out chronologically. So started the year early February, closing at 298,000 and then 305, moved up to 313. After the pandemic, we had a little break in sales, so that was March 26th. Probably all of those were contracted pre-pandemic. Back to getting some sales done in July, 295, 295. Maybe a little bit of the influence of the pandemic making some sellers nervous. 300,000 in August, 307.5 in September, 295, 297, 299, 305, and 309 right here at the end of the year, showing some signs a couple months after these high twos of breaking into the 300s. One of the things that's going on here is that major price break of 300. The same thing is happening in Seychelles right now in the one bedroom units. When you get around a major price break, the perception of something being worth two something and being worth three something is a very real obstacle to get over for a number of reasons. But buyers have to get it in their heads, agents, appraisers. That's always tough to see. So what you're watching right now is the market trying to move up very, very fully in above 300. You see it testing, but you still see buyers, holding on to those high twos because there have been so many past sales in that range. We're going to talk a little bit more about how to get the highest price in just a minute. When we look at the two bedrooms, obviously there's some differences in floor plans and sizes there, but let's just get some sense of that. Let's look at the larger units. So a $470,000 sale earlier in the year, $485,000 a little later in the year. We moved up from 376 to 387, 389 on another plan. So a touch of appreciation there in the two bedrooms. Three bedrooms really sat for a long time without any sales. This is interesting to see because it doesn't look like appreciation because those are two sales from later in the year at 600, but we haven't touched 600 leading up to this, so there really is some appreciation. We just didn't have another sale in the year earlier than that. That's actually a pretty big move for those units. So for anybody who's thinking about selling this year or just wants to know kind of what we're expecting in the market going forward, there's a couple ideas on timing and pricing and what to expect. Remember, the beginning of the pandemic, I started checking this or following this chart from a company called Showing Time. Showing Time, again, is a company that real estate agents and brokers use to schedule an actual showing appointment. And so I knew early March that we were going to see a pretty dramatic decrease in people getting out to look at real estate, obviously. But I also wanted to see when we might bottom out and then when we might start coming up again, because that'll give us some early signs of the market picking back up. I was a little surprised, I think a lot of people were, that by end of May, we were showing as much real estate as we were in 2019. And if you follow this orange line, which is the 2020 line, we're really outperforming and showing more real estate than we did in 2019 most of the rest of the year. And something else to pay attention to, probably even more important to pay attention to, if you look at this 0% baseline, they're in the process of resetting it for next year, but pretty soon we'll be looking at the same chart just with an adjusted baseline. But one thing that's important to understand here is look at just the number of showings that are happening this time of year versus this little swell that we see early in the year. Now, remember, this is all of Florida. This is houses, condos, everything. But it's worth noting in the condo market that it doesn't take until March, April, May for the condo market to pick up. In fact, it's really like mid-February that showings really pop. In this market right now, as hot as this market is, we have things going on now. We have multiple offers going on things now. So imagine what's going to happen in another 2, 3, 4 weeks if it follows what's happened historically the last couple of years. So from a timing standpoint, get the property out there now if you're thinking about selling and taking advantage of a hot market. Something else to consider is your competition. Right now, especially if you're a 1-bedroom unit, you have no competition. If you're a 3-bedroom unit, you have no competition. 490, there's only 3 units for sale at all in the entire complex. So if someone wants to be in Splash, they don't have any choices. Now, this is where I think it gets really important on pricing. We're in an extremely hot market, and we're in the kind of market that we don't see very often. To me, this is very reminiscent of 2004, 2005. When you're going to set a price, this is the market to price aggressive. Not just a little aggressive, but very aggressive. In fact, you can't price unreasonable. You can't price a 1-bedroom. You can't price where 2 bedrooms are. But you certainly can price up against unreasonable. Remember earlier in the video, 5 or 6 months of inventory is normal, or is traditional in real estate. It takes that long because it takes time for people to get the marketing and to see something's for sale, especially in a condo market where so many people are in other parts of the country. I know the internet makes it a little bit easier to get the marketing out there, but it still takes time for people to pay attention to something, and they're in their daily lives looking at things, and they're thinking about buying a condo, but they're not going to do it for 2 months before they come down here. You don't need a contract in 24 hours or 48 hours. Price aggressively, and be patient. This is the kind of market that's going to work in your favor, at least right now with everything that we're seeing in these metrics. Make sure you have some strategies in place to deal with a offer that is contingent on financing. First of all, you're not obligated. Just because a buyer wants to get financing doesn't mean you're obligated to accept that. They can get a loan, but that doesn't have to be a contingency in the contract. You also have to have some strategies ready to combat the appraisal issue. If all of the 1-bedrooms have been selling around 300 and you can land a contract at 320 or 325, what's going to be your solution for solving that gap if an appraisal comes in low? We have those solutions. There are ways for you to close transactions and not be obligated to the appraisal price. So think about those things. Make sure that you can be patient. I'm helping a seller right now who's being very patient. She's probably showing this house 2 or 3 times per day. We had 5 or 6 showings like last Thursday. She's received 4 or 5 offers. She's being very patient. Her first offer was very good and maybe what you expect. Someone looked at the past market, and the pricing was in line with where everything just was. She's been very, very patient. Her first offers were people putting down, either doing 100% financing or 3 or 5%, very low money in, very high loan to values. She's been very patient. She now has on the table an offer where someone's putting 20% down, and it's a stronger buyer and has a better chance now of closing that transaction at the number that she's looking for just by being patient for a couple of weeks. And it's only 2 weeks. It's only been a couple of weeks. We're not even talking about months. So I think there's a lot that's happening in the market with holding prices down. I think it's natural for people to look at the comps and look at the last 3 months and see where sales are, especially in these condominiums, and price them right in line with where things were and just price a little over. We need more of this. We need aggressive pricing and patience, because this is the kind of market that someone's finally going to say February, March, or April, when they really want a unit for the summer, well, I can go ahead and pay 5 or 10,000 more, or 15,000 more, or maybe even more than that. So be patient, price aggressive. Now's the time to get that messaging out there. For those of you who haven't signed up for e-alerts, I know most of you guys already are. Again, for those of you who don't know, this is probably the best system I've seen since I started selling real estate in 2003 to keep people updated on actually what's happening in the market. What an e-alert is it's simple. Anytime a unit goes up for sale, changes price, goes under contract or sells in Splash, really any condo you want, or we can even do Splash just the one bedrooms, we'll send you an e-alert via email. It's an automated system. It comes straight from our real estate system, so it's very accurate. You can get an e-alert sent to you once per day. You can get them sent once per week, once per month. So if you just want to keep track of what's happening in the market, the system will batch all the information together and send it to you however often you want. You'll see anytime something goes up for sale, changes price, goes under contract, or sells. The sale price will show you the actual sale date and the actual sales price. It's very accurate. It's not what someone says they sold it for. It's the real data. So if you're interested in that, just send me an email to craig@craigduran.com or shoot me a text. 850-527-0221 is my number. Just let me know what you're looking for. All of Splash, just Splash 2 bedrooms, the whole market, 2 or 3 buildings. If you're just wanting a couple buildings, whatever, we can set it up however you like. It's a very neat system too. It's very easy to look at on mobile. And once you see any of the information that comes to you, you can click on that unit and then you get all the details. So you can see all the interior photos, you can see the description, and really keep up with the market yourself. And it's not what some agent that may be new to the business knows about pricing. It's the real actual pricing that's coming to you. I hope you guys found that helpful. I know it's a little bit longer this time, 17 minutes now, but I thought it was important to give you a comprehensive update. You guys, thanks for watching. Happy New Year. Stay safe. We'll be in touch next month. Thanks.